Yes, good evening, Miss Rachana.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss Seena. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
Welcome back to External Education and Training.
Sir.
Well, I think Rachana ma'am is all set, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What about Seena ma'am?
Yes, sir. All set.
Okay. So, dear participants, let's have a quick introduction about today's moderator, who will be taking us through the session, helping us. Just a moment, let me share the introduction. Here we go.
Ms. Swina Kaira, currently serving as the primary coordinator and TGT English teacher at Podar Learn School in Udgir, discovered her passion for teaching at the age of 14. Back then, she would teach children from her neighborhood. Her educational journey includes a master's degree in English and phonics. In 2022, she had the opportunity to be an observer for the National Testing Agency, NTA. The proudest moments of her life were receiving the Best Teacher Award consecutively for 2 years. Swina's aim is to inspire and empower her students, encouraging them to embrace challenges, technology, and lifelong learning. Hearty welcome, Ms. Swina. The stage is yours. Please proceed.
Yes, Ms. Veena, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful appreciation. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and warm greetings from all of us and Extra Mile Education and Training. Extra Mile, established by Dr. Abdul Salam, the founder of BTEC, a dynamic training platform dedicated to empowering educators nationwide. We offer both online and on-site trainings tailored to your needs. With our growing network of resource persons and subject matter experts, Extra Mile extends its reach to educators across India and Gulf countries, continually striving to achieve educational excellence. I extend a warm welcome to our Program Director, Dr. Abdul Salam, and our respected resource person for the day, Ms. Rachna Bhargav, and all our dear participants who have joined us this evening. It's indeed a pleasure to have each one of you as an integral part of this webinar as we go about exploring how differentiated instructions and assessment can help us for the development of students. It's a great feeling to be present here today, and I extend my humble gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Differentiated instructions and assessment cater to the diverse learning needs, styles, and abilities of students. By integrating these differentiated strategies, educators can create a more inclusive and effective learning environment that addresses the needs of all students. So before we begin today's session, there are a few things that I would like to brief you about. Switching on your device camera is optional. Any query in the midst of the session can be conveyed through the meeting chat box. In order to have an interactive experience, you may note down your queries and ask them at the end of the session. Rachna Bhargav will be happy to dispel your doubts. Please click the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called out when the forum is open to discussions. The participants will have the opportunity to receive the certificate only after filling up the certificate and feedback form. The link for this will be shared with you at the end of the session. So kindly stay connected till the end of the session. Let's talk about Mr. Abdul Salam sir. I am now pleased to introduce our program director, Dr. Abdul Salam sir. Salam sir is a renowned CBSE resource person and master trainer, and he has been associated with National Accreditation Board for Education and Training (NABET) under the Government of India as an assessor. He is the founder and CEO of Extra Mile Education and Training and Bharat Transformers Academic Group, BTEC. Sir, we are honored to have you with us this evening. I kindly invite you to deliver the welcome address.
Yeah, well, thank you. Welcome everybody. Well, as Ms. Sina has rightly said, for an inclusive setup, we have to take care of the differentiation in teaching. So most of the participants who have joined must be having an idea about differentiation, how it is to be implemented and all. But when you talk about education, Indian education abroad, those who are teaching in foreign countries, just like UAE and all, they must be knowing how inevitable is differentiation in their lesson plan. We hardly see differentiation in our lesson plans in India, whereas as a mandatory item, as a standard item for international setup of education, it is to be noted that differentiation should be included in the lesson plan. In fact, there should be differentiation in the objectives that we set for the students, for the classroom. There should be different kind of objectives. Objectives should be catering to the three levels, mainly the three levels or three diverse students who are attending the classroom. The middle achievers, the gifted children, and the low achievers. So that is very important. And today we will listen to Bhargava Rajana ma'am, who will be taking us through how differentiation is important and how we can implement differentiation in the classroom. So let's all lend our ears to her and take away a lot of things so that that can be implemented for the benefit of the diverse learners. All the very best. Thank you so much, Rachana ma'am, for offering this session, and over to Sina ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Let me introduce our today's resource person, Rachna Bhargava ma'am. Rachna Bhargava is a dedicated and passionate educator with over 12 years of teaching experience and 3 years of corporate experience. As the head of Department Social Science and PGP Commerce at a reputed institution, she has consistently demonstrated her ability to inspire and motivate students to achieve their full potential. Her expertise in creative teaching methods and her ability to think outside the box have led to numerous awards and recognition in the field of education. As an AREF trainer and CBSE Sahodaya resource person, she has shared her expertise with fellow educators and has been a motivational speaker at various educational forums. Her positive attitude and strong leadership qualities have made her a role model for her students and colleagues alike. And it's an absolute honor for me to be working with you this evening. On behalf of everyone present, I welcome you and request you to take over the proceedings for this evening.
Thank you so much, Sina ma'am. A very good evening to one and all present here. And heartfelt thanks to you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this extra mile training program. And the biggest thing is whenever I get such an opportunity, it is again a learning experience for me. In the process of preparing for it, I find myself learning so many new things. So thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Once again, a very good evening to all the educators present here. So I hope we are all set to begin. Yes? Can we have some reactions? You can use the reaction buttons, you can use the chat box, right, for your queries, for whatever you want to ask. So I will be more than happy to take up your queries. So let's begin with the session. I'll just give me a moment. I'll share the screen. I hope my screen is visible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. So I think you all would agree with me that learning never stops, right? Because life never stops teaching. And we as educators always have to go a step beyond, right? We have to take an extra mile to bring that learning into our classroom. And today's topic of differentiated instructions and assessments is definitely, as sir has rightly said, in abroad, in other countries, we are definitely practicing it. But in India, we are still lagging behind to some extent. So, and this is something we need to work on. In one or I would say to some extent we are doing it and we are not doing it, right? And we need to bring it in a structured manner, and we have to take it to the next level. So I hope I'll be able to keep up to your expectations. Okay. So before I begin, right, I would just like to know what are your opinions about differentiated instructions and how do you practice in your classroom? Do you think you are practicing in one or the other way, or you are, what do you think, what it is, what we are going to talk about? So you can use the chat box. If you want to unmute, you can raise your hand and we can go ahead. Let's make it a two-way learning process. Okay, it is integrated learning, right? To some extent, it is a part of it. Okay, leadership. You think it is related to something related to leadership also? Fine. Everyone is unique. Very right, ma'am. Everyone is unique and we need to take care of every child. Okay. Let's hear some more. Giving extra attention to slow learners. Okay. Catering to learning needs. Yes, definitely. Catering to all the learners. Peer assessments. Yes, it is a part of it. Cater to different learning styles. Would you like to share some experience if you have uh, taken up this differential learning in your classroom in one or the other way? Giving attention to the students, to all levels of the students, involving parents to make questions, using different methods, level of understanding difference. The world have many colored. Okay. It depends on the learning speed of a child. Learning styles are different. Okay, very right. Giving attention to every learner. It is student-centered rather than teacher-centered. Very right. Okay, great. So to some extent, we are on the same page that you know that differential learning is something when we deal with the different students that we have in our classroom, right? So I really believe you all here as are passionate educators, right? And you are in this profession because you have a passion to be a teachers, right? So before we proceed, I will like to share a video with you, right? Let's have a, just give me a moment. I'll share a video and then we'll move to the next. Okay. Yes, I'll share the screen. Okay. So what did you understood? What did you understood from the video? Inclusive environment. Okay. The child was more focused. He was more enjoying the audios rather than the learning part. Okay. What did you learn from the video? Okay. You observed this, right? Okay. The child was a kinesthetic learner. What did you learn from the video? You need to find out the talent of the child. You need to find out the area which makes the things interesting for him, right? It is designed as per the needs of the child. Very right, ma'am. Right? And this is what we need to understand that every child is different and every child has capability to learn to some extent, right? So let's move ahead. Okay. So I hope you have got to know that we are talking about something wherein we need to understand that how we need to cater to the needs of the child. And there is a difference that what we assume sometimes. It is not that we have to design the plan for each child, right? It is just that understanding the learning needs of the child. We need to keep keeping students in stagnant groups based on the data from beginning of the year. Sometimes we make an assumption that okay, this particular child is of this type. This particular child is going to learn in this way, or he is not going to learn. He is not going to listen to us. So that is the mindset which we create in the beginning, and that we need not do, because we have to understand the needs of the child. Teaching only the lower level students and letting the higher level students teach themselves. This is what we generally tend to do as teachers, right? When we get the results in front of us and we observe that, okay, these are the students at the bottom level. These are the students who are not able to come up to the next level, even the passing percentage, right? And we start focusing on them as taking them as weak students, right? Maybe by giving them extra classes, by giving them extra notes. That is what we start doing after getting the results. So this is not differentiation in case of learning. It is something when we understand from the very beginning the needs of the child and then working on the strategies. And the most important thing is we have to reach to teach. And before we teach, we need to reach the child, because every student can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way. Every child is unique, you all one would agree. And how this concept of differentiating learning came into existence, uh, way back US also recognized, and they came up with the program of no child should be left behind. Then UK also came up with the program where they talked about every child matters. And in NEP 2020 also, we also our education system also says that inclusivity, flexibility and equity has to be a part of the education system, right? And differential learning is a part of it. So before we start teaching, we need to reach the level of the students. We have to start with the curriculum. We have to start where the child is, right? We need to match the vibes with the child. Then only we will understand how they will learn and how they will understand better. Okay, the learning pit is something which I think every child should know, because it is a phase, it is a learning phase. They should know that in the process of learning something new, some new concepts, they are definitely going to fall also, right? They are going to be confused also, they are going to fail also, they have to struggle, right? And they will, at some point, they will find that this is not what they can do, but then it is something from where they can come out with the support, with the collaboration. It is something from where they can come out and they can be the achievers. So this is what they should know, that it is a part of the learning phase, and they need not go into the things like depression or stress which we usually come across these days, right? Okay, so few researches have even shown that the lecture method is the least effective method, which we have been following, like we going, referring to the books, explaining the content. That is the most least the child, right? And we need to understand that no two children are alike. They are identical, and every child is capable. It is just that how we reach that child. You know why it is so that a child is able to understand from one teacher, but a child is not able to understand from the other teacher. He is doing well in one subject, but the child is not doing well in the other subject. It is only because how the teacher is approaching the child, right? So we need to focus. We cannot have that one size fit all approach in the teaching. So coming to differential learning, it is definitely a responsive teaching. It is not one size fit all technique. Responsive teaching in the sense we need to understand the learner's need. Again and again, we are talking about the same thing, that we need to identify where the child needs attention, in what way they want to learn, right? Okay. So we have, if you talk about diverse learners, right? We are talking about diverse learners. We have different type of learners in our classes, and one of them is the one we talk about, the multiple intelligence, right? You all must have heard about the theory that we have different types of learners. There are few who read and learn, there are few who are kinesthetic learners, right? And there are few who prefer to hear audio category. There are visuals who prefer to see visuals and retain the things more. So that is one category, right? Diverse ability is the other category, where we talk about the gifted students and the disabled students, right? That is also one of the diverse learners in the classroom. And another category of diverse learners is in the terms of their backgrounds, in the term of their belief system, their values, and their traditions. And when we structure our plans, when we structure the lesson, we need to cater to all these types of multiple and diverse learners, right? Okay. And it is a fact that when we try to teach something, 1/3 kids already know it, right? Maybe their prior knowledge or the environment is such that they are aware of those things. 1/3 students will understand it, right? And remaining 1/3, they will not understand it. So 2/3 of children are wasting their time if we are not doing something how they want to learn, right? So we need to make sure whatever we are planning, whatever we are strategizing, that is according to the learner's ability. Coming to next, what all are the things which we need to focus upon in this differential learning? The first thing is the content, right? Modifying the content according to the level of the child, right? We have to understand that in Bloom's taxonomy also, if you see, they have given different categories of children. So accordingly, we have to understand that what is the learning capacity of that child, and accordingly, we have to modify our content. If you talk about the process, it is how we are engaging those students, right? Means the teaching strategies which we are following in the classroom, how we are able to engage those students, how we are able to manage to get their attention, how individually they are involved. That is a part of the process. If you talk about product is something in which a child wants to express their learning experience, right? It can be in the form of a project, it can be in the form of some assignment, it can be in the written form, it can be in the oral form. So what is the product? How their learning experience they want to share, that also we need to identify. And again, the very important aspect is the class environment, right? It will cover both the aspects, the physical one also and the emotional part also. Emotionally, how happy the child is in the classroom, how safe the child feels, how connected the child feels, right? Sometimes we get to heard that the child doesn't feel to coming to the school, coming to the class, right? It means the child is not comfortable with the peers. So, and in physical environment is definitely, it adds on energy in the class, right? How the setup is there in the class, what type of displays we have in the class, right? Whether it is dull or it have we displayed the students works, the worksheets, and even the sitting arrangements, right? If you just try one day and make them sit in groups and see how enthusiastic they are, right? So the learning environment is also very important when we talk about the differential learning. Let's talk about all these one by one, right? Content, we have already discussed that it is something, when you plan your lesson, we need to understand the learning capability of the child, right? That is the uh, understanding level of the child, whether the child will be able, according to Bloom's taxonomy, at what level the child will be, whether the child will be able to is at the lowest level, right? Where he can only understand the concept, or he can just remember the concept, or the child has come to the next level where they can apply the concepts, or the child is able to evaluate on, or he can work on the creativity part. So accordingly, we have to design our content. This learning profile is basically designing according to the Bloom's taxonomy. Talking about the next part, that is our process, right? Again, here we have to think how flexible we are in our activities in the classroom, right? If I tell the whole class to design a poster, believe me, it will become so dull and they will not be willing to do it. Half of them will just keep sitting, right? If I tell them to, okay, write a poem on something, half of them will keep sitting. So we need to understand how we have to design the activities which will which can ignite that spark where they can think, where the skills can be developed, right? So designing the activity based teaching, how it has to be done, again, it is a very important aspect is the part of the plan. Then again, coming to the product part, right? How they are going to present their things, whether it is through the projects or through in the form of the tests, assignments, and if technology is also embedded in it, right? We are definitely dealing with the alpha generation, and they are more prone to technology. We need to understand how we have to incorporate technology in our lessons. Only then they will develop the interest and they'll be able to come out of those to a next level in the learning process, right? And again, as we talked about the classroom environment, right, the emotional part as well as the physical environment, both have to be very conducive so that the child can develop interest in the classroom. Active engagement model, if you talk about this model, high order thinking, participation, low order thinking, and high participation, differential instruction is the one where high order thinking also exists and the participation and engagement of students is also high, right? It comes in that category where both the things are to a next level, right? So we need to understand that even if you talk about ourselves also, we are attending a session or something, and we just have to listen. After some time, we'll start like as we should sleep only, right? So it is same with the kids. They are studying throughout the day, and we need to have to differentiate this. How we have to incorporate this differential learning in our classrooms. So let's come to the part that how we can incorporate this in differential learning. Till now, we have understood that what is the part, how we have to design differential learning. Content has to be part of it, outcome has to be a part of it, activities also have to be a part of it. Now let's see how we can incorporate it, what all we can do to make the lessons different, to incorporate differential learning in our classrooms. Creating learning stations, right? We can have some stations which can be help stations also, right? Or we can create some learning stations which can be like the carousel brainstorming, where you have given different groups, there are different stations, you may have assigned the different topics, and the child come out with every group is studying their own perspective, right? Every child is studying their own part, right? Even you can give them options in this part. Okay, this is something which we can offer and what you can learn. Peer tutoring, again, a very good strategy to involve differential learning where we feel that the child is not matching to our level, right? Sometimes the weak students, they find it more easy when the peers teach them, right? And the one who is teaching will also develop the leadership skills. So peer tutoring, we should encourage this strategy, right? And it will definitely work. Share your own strengths and weaknesses, right? Sometimes we as teacher, if we share, okay, this was the problem at this point of time and this is how I came out of this problem, that will also help them, the children, to understand, okay, this is something which we can also try. And when we share even if it is not our own experience, you want to share something, you share it as your own experience, and they will feel more connected. The next comes up is think, pair, and share strategy, right? When we make them sit in pairs, they share their learnings, they think together, as a group they work, right? Collaborative activities, the collaborative learning works the most. The kids enjoy the most, right? They learn the most, And this is something which they really like to do. They don't feel like boring. And the best part of collaborative learning is that even the weakest of children, they also try to contribute to some extent, right? When they see their peers, they learn from them, and they also try to contribute. What they need is just little motivation. Scaffolding techniques, right? Scaffolding techniques basically we use when we have to introduce some new concepts, right? We take the child through that, right? We make them understand, and then by taking a back seat and giving them little support, we let the child learn on their own, right? Because everything a child cannot know, right? Sometimes we as a teacher can assess, okay, this is something which they already might be knowing, right? This is something which is something new which they have not heard about. So there we will have to give our explanation part. We will have to make them understand the concept and then take a back seat so that they can build upon that concept. So that is the scaffolding technique. Small group interactions, again, if they are interacting within themselves, right? Suppose you give them a task that they have to interview some person, and they have to ask about any of their experience, right? Like we usually conduct these activities, we tell the child to interview their neighbors and ask about their family history, right? For small kids, or we tell them to interview the maids or peons, right? And ask about their scenario, right? To cover you can relate it to any of the concepts. So small group interactions also work, and when they are in a group, they gain some confidence to ask. Graphic organizers, definitely the mind maps, the concept maps, the flow charts. It is a wonderful aid to make the kids learn, right? And and moreover, they retain in a better way. Tiering activities, right? When we divide the students in categories, like, okay, and they try to analyze that I am at this particular stage. I am able to understand this concept. I am able to understand this concept, and I am able to give the test of this, or I am able to answer the questions related to it, right? Or they categorize that I have clearly understood it and I can move to the next level of it. So it is something similar to the Bloom's taxonomy, okay, at which level the child is. So activities can be designs. Some tic-tac-toes activities are related to it. So tiering activities also, you will get number of you will get um, designed, you can say, templates for that. Provision of alteration of topics, assignments that focus on real world relevance, right? When we give them choice, when we give them some kind of real world relevance, they enjoy it more, right? Whether we are teaching them elections, when we are teaching them any such concept related to theories of demand, when we are talking about partnerships at whatever grade level, right? And it can be practiced at any grade level, may it be the junior level or the middle level or the higher section. When we give them something which is related to the real world, they are definitely going to connect better, and they are definitely going to understand in a better way, right? Compacting technique, this is something which I came across, something new, and I'll share it in detail going ahead. And again, flexible grouping, right? We cannot fix the groups. It has to be, sometimes it has to be according to their interest level, right? Sometimes it has to be according to their, diverse groups can also be made. Okay, one is a slow learner, one child can assist as a high performer, right? So diverse groups can also be made, and sometimes homogeneous groups can also be made. It will depend on the topic which you are going to take up. It will depend upon your planning. What are actually your expected outcomes out of it, right? If you think it is something which they already know, might be peers can assist them, right? I think agriculture or Indian history, we keep on doing in so many grades starting from fifth onwards, right? So if we want to categorize and we can make the diverse group in this case, definitely they will be able to assist each other. But if it is something new which they have not done, right, definitely we have to make the groups accordingly, and sometimes according to their interests, right? Some students are there who prefer to, like once we have done this activity, like when you give them choice and you make the flexible groups, you give them the choice to make your groups, right? They will definitely work better, right? Okay, if I know I am digitally good, and the teacher should give me the part of making podcast, they have created their own group that, okay, we four will make a podcast on it, right? We for are good in spoken part, we would like to have a group discussion on this. So when you make these flexible groups, definitely the outcomes are better. Compacting strategy, which I was talking about, is basically we keep focusing on the kids who need our attention, that this child is not learning, so we should focus on this child. And we tend to forget the kids who are above level, the high performers, right? And this compacting strategy is for high performing kids. Otherwise, it can be used for other kids also, right? And it is defining the goals, and who have already mastered that concept of that, those who have attained the desired learning outcomes, right? Then the next level of instructions has to be provided to them, so that there can be some enrichment, right? For example, if it is a high performing group and they are thorough with the concepts, they have already gone through it, they have already learned it, right? Now they can be given some project based on it, where they can do a survey, where they can do some research work, and they can do their findings, while the rest of the class is still working on the remaining part, where learning and understanding is going on. So like this, you can differentiate. It is not always that the things have to go in the same way for everyone, right? And this you can, if you talk about this part, compacting technique for high performance, it can be done in the form of flipped learning also, right? If you give them some home based task, definitely there has to be some high level of expectations. Coming to the next part, technology in differential learning. As we already talked, that we are dealing with alpha generation and they are more near to technology. They know it better than us, right? And they do it better than us, right? So we cannot stay aloof of it, right? So definitely we all have this. Pandemic was a blessing in disguise, right? Otherwise, I think we would not have been here till now. So this hybrid concept, this flipped learning concept, all this came up only because of technology, right? So these are few of the things, I think. Kahoot, Nearpods, Mentimeter, if you want to take some surveys kind of things, you can have Mentimeters. Plickers is a very good technique where you want, but this needs uh, the internet facility in the classroom, right? It is a technique where you have some kind of QR codes where you can keep on asking, and every child has a QR code and they keep on answering through the QR code. You will get all the answers, and then you can display, okay, how many correct answers and who has given what answer. It is a wonderful technique. Padlet, you all know, right? If you want to get their ideas also, they get their opinion also, then also you can use the Padlet. Google Forms, animations, I think we are already into it and we are using it. Concept board, one more kind of board is there where it is a digital board, and all the things, the super teacher tools are there, and you can incorporate it there and then in the whiteboard, and you can use it in the classrooms, right? We all have smart classes these days, so very easily, at least from your part, you can do it. Kids might not be having to some extent, but at least we can begin with that. Edpuzzle is again when we have to create some videos, a number of template videos also you will get. You can add on your voice to it, and you can again uh, create your own videos for that. Flipgrid, right? Where you can allow the students to, they can create their own recordings, they can share it. We have talking presentation these days, right? Kahoot, Padlets, I think you all are already aware of. The surveys and the Mentimeters, these really work to a great extent, and kids really enjoy it, right? Even if you incorporate gamification in your lessons, even the smallest of the kids know how to do a quiz online, right? If you have the smart classes in your classroom, you can play the gamification link in the classroom. Even if one by one they can come, or few of them can come on different days, you can give a chance. Let them do that on the screen, and you just see how much they are going to enjoy it, right? Even the weakest of kids, they will be eager to come and do it. So this is how you can practice the differential learning by incorporating technology also. Let's move to the next part, which is assessments, right? All these things, I think to some extent we are doing in our classrooms. We again, as I'll say, we need to give it a more structure in our lesson plans also, right? We need to, as sir have already said, the learning outcomes we design the common for everyone. Very right. We are doing it common for everyone. So learning outcomes also have to be designed according to the learning ability of the kids, right? So let's see assessments. I'll go ahead with one of the examples where we have different level of learners in the classrooms. We have already talked about, right? We have low performers, we have middle level performers, and we have high performers also. And it aligns with the Bloom's taxonomy, right? If you talk about the high performers, evaluation, synthesis, and creativity, that is the part of the high performers. I have taken one example from the chapter Natural Vegetation and Wildlife, right? Suppose you are designing different assignments for them, you can design different type of questions from them, right? For example, here we have the questions. Design a digital currency note that highlights the significance of currency note to highlight the significance of national vegetation and wildlife, right? So one thing is they will come up with they'll develop the digital skills, right? Secondly, it will involve creativity. The skill of creativity is involved in this. So they will think, and moreover, it has involved in integrated learning, right? They will see what all things are required on a note, right? And they will, uh, you can say they will create it a new currency note, taking into account those features, but designing it taking into account the natural vegetation and wildlife, right? If I go to the next question, it is propose a sustainable development plan that balances human needs with the preservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. What innovative solutions can be implemented to reduce the human impact on natural ecosystems? I have taken a very generalized topic. Uh, it is again something which they have to think and answer, right? They have to generate something where they can develop a sustainable development plan. And it is something, right, which will vary from child to child. It is not something pre-designed answer that they will give you, right? According to the level of understanding, according to the level of knowledge, right? And according to the skills of creativity, they will definitely create something which is going to develop their skills. If I talk about the next level, the middle level achievers, right? The category in which we can keep them is analysis and application, right? Like they have to evaluate the effects of deforestation on biodiversity. Means they have to analyze, they have to understand it. And how does the removal of trees in a forest ecosystem alter the balance of both vegetation and wildlife? And the next question is illustrate the web of a specific ecosystem. So it means they must be knowing what is the web, and they have to take some example. They have to show how their plants and animals are interdependent on that ecosystem. So definitely it is something which they know, and they will use that learning part to answer the question, right? It is not something where they have to think beyond the books. It is something which they have learned, they have understood the concept, and now they have to apply it, analyze it, right? If I talk about the low grade achievers, right, remembrance and knowledge is the thing which we need to, the two lowest levels of the Bloom's taxonomy are to be applied here, right? The things in the form of MCQs, match the following, fill-ups, something where we can give them cues, some picture-based questions, right? These things will work from them. They'll be easily able to correlate with it, right? Or something which is generalized. Even if they have not studied, they should be able to answer according to their understanding, right? List 3 endangered species and the primary threats to their survival. What efforts are being made to protect them? So this is something which is at the level, even if they have not gone through the book, right? They have not understood the technical terms, they will be able to answer it. So accordingly, we can design different type of the assignments, the testing, and the assessments also, right? We usually give competency-based assignments if we talk about our school in the where we have only the creativity and the high hot type of questions, the high order thinking skills, right? Because we are moving in that direction, and that is something we need to uh, incorporate in our systems, right? And to incorporate to deal with the different type of students which we have in the classroom, right? These are few of the things which I came across, and I think we can work on it, having outdoor examinations in the sense, I mean some testing. If you take them in the ground, right, there will be high level of energy, right? Cheat sheet is something similar to what we used to have, open book text, right? When you can allow the child to refer to something and answer the questions, right? Even the weakest of the kids, at least they will go through the content, they will try to relate what you have asked, and they will try to answer it. Various choice options, again, it is when you give them choice in the questions, right? Okay, you can, we usually have, right, these MCQs or the even the internal choice questions we have. That is what, that is a kind of differential. Okay, if this question you can answer, or that question you can answer, right? Assessment, not,
Rajana ma'am,
yes,
excuse me. Can you give me 1 minute and go back to the previous slide?
sure, sir, just a minute. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And participants, this is a very important part of the session. This is the highlight of differentiation, where you can see how the activity or the assessment, differential assessment, is done for the diverse learners. What we would prefer, with the teachers is you have to scaffold the high achievers with probing higher order thinking questions and engage them, because otherwise, if the same question or activity is given to children, and these fellows, they finish very fast and they engage in disturbing the classroom, because they are cost, I mean, their need is not satisfied. So this is where you have to engage the children and challenge them. So they always like challenges. These high achiever, they like challenges. So we have to prepare some challenging activities and questions for them. And the middle achievers, definitely you can have the analysis, application level questions, and the teaching is required for the low graders. So we would prefer the teachers to go and sit with the low graders, those who require much help in the classroom. These children, they need just guidance. High order, I mean, high achievers, middle achiever, they need guidance, and they will learn on their own. But these low graders, the low achievers, they need your help. So you have to go and sit with them, explain the concept with them in a very simplified way, in a very simplified language as well. So that is the importance of this slide is the highlight of differentiation. Please do implement. Please sit with the slow learners. Otherwise, they will lose their confidence. Every time they fail, they are not able to do it, because we are giving the same question or same activity as for the middle achievers and high achievers. So what happens to the slow learners? They become dejected, they become disappointed, and they lose their confidence. So it is everybody's responsibility to prepare something special, something simple for these low learners, the low graders, so that they become, it is the responsibility of the teacher to scaffold them. They cannot remain as such throughout the year. 1 month, 2 months, the third month, they should be able to jump to the next level. That is where the success of a teacher lies. So please take care of this activity for implementation. And I thank Rachana ma'am for including such an example. Thank you so much. Please, sorry for the interruption. Please proceed.
Thank you, sirs, for your wonderful suggestions. And I really agree that low graders, they need most of our attention, right? And one more technique works for them. Like the more you ask them, the more you can grab their attention, right? And spacing technique is something where you keep on repeatedly asking them, right? If you have today you have made the concept, them understand, make them understand the concept. Tomorrow you ask again, day after tomorrow you ask again, and slowly it will be in their minds. It is retention is something which is missing, because maybe because of the slow learners, maybe because they lack the concentration or whatever. That is the only reason why they are at the low grade level, right? It is not that they cannot do it, it is only that they need your attention. So spacing technique also work for it, and even if you add a little humor, they will really get, you'll be able to grab their attention, right? If suppose if you are doing a role play, you make one of them Hitler, you make one of them some other personality, and let the whole process go through the child, and they'll definitely get involved in it. So you need to design, consider them, uh, whenever you design the activities, they need to be given a preference in designing those things. Right? Okay. So let's come back to this. We were at not for everyone, right? Every time assessment is not for everyone means that sometimes few of the kids, you can give them the task to uh, design the answer template, right? To check the answer sheets of their particular groups. Okay, this is one group is there. One child is assigned the task of making the test for that particular group and then checking it and then as finding out what are the flaws or what are where do they lack. Right? Same way in the other group, some other child is assigned the responsibility. Okay, you design the test for your group and you have to assess it. So learners and teachers both have to be involved in this assessment process. Right? Peer assessments, we are already coming up with these things. So what it is that part only. Talk and share within the groups. You can also or you can one by one you can call the groups, right? And you can share their learnings. They can share their learnings, what was their assigned topic and what they have. They can share with everyone. That is also part type of differential learning, right? Collaboration on test, right? This is one of the assessment techniques only where you can collaborate the students in making the test, right? Okay, this time these children I am will design the test, the class tests, right? Okay, next time some other child is given the responsibility. And when you involve the low graders also, they are so enthusiastic to be a part of it, right? And they come across so many things. So this is also a very good technique, even if you do this as an oral assessment, right? You give it as an oral assessment, you design 10 questions and you have to ask it. The next has to design 10 questions and they have to ask to the other group, right? Again, it works in the groups. Language support, sometimes some students need a language support. If English is not their basic language, the first language, then they need to be given some clues. They need to be given some assistance in the form of the clues or the structured answers. So that support also sometimes we need to extend during the assessments, right? Like in creative sections, in the languages, we usually give them clues. Okay, these are the parameters while designing a story. This is all how you have to go about it. Or if some kind of vocabulary is to be used, these are the things which are to be incorporated. So that kind of support can also be incorporated in the assessments. Next comes the students choose the test questions. It is something similar to the collaboration on tests. Take home exam, right? This is something which we are practicing also. We call it self-assessment test, right? Sometimes we have to assign the tests at home or take home exam kind of thing where the child needs to do the things from the home, right? They may ask their parents, they may take the assistance of their parents or from the net or their siblings. So but the expectations from this self-assessment test or home-based test has to be little higher, right? Because so that they can go to the next level, search something and come up with the structured and more you can say refined answers. So this is also one of the assessment techniques which can be taken up. And we call it self-assessment. They have to assess it on their own. They have to do it. They have to get it checked from their parents. This is how we go about it.
Rachana
Yes,
ma'am,
sir.
previous slide, yeah, they want to know more about cheat sheet and the self-assessment. What is that IPSATIV?
SATIV, it is a type of assessment. The way we have formative assessment, summative assessment, this is collaboration on test where the learners and the teachers, right? They both come together. And one more thing is there, it is a two-step learning, two-step step testing, right? Suppose in the first test, the child was not able to perform to that level, and we can have a what we call improvement test, right? It is that kind of assessment. So, and cheat sheet is something where they can refer the books. It is similar to open book test, which you used to have. They can refer some source, they can refer the books, right? And find out the answers and then design their own answers. And self-assessment test or take-home test is like the questions, set of questions are given to them, right? And they have to do it from their home. They have to do it from their home. They have to get it checked from their parents. If they are not able to do, they can take the teacher's help in assessment. But it is something which they have to do from their home. I hope it works, sir.
The teacher has to be choosy, right? In terms of the diverse learners.
Yes.
Am I right, ma'am? That means all may not fit the different categories.
Right. Right. Even if we want to choose the category for some group of kids, right, choose some other category from other group of students, that also can be done. That is what diverse learners are. Differential learning and assessments, these are few of the assessments which we are already used to have. Like formatting assessments we have, once we are done with the some part of the chapter, we take the testing, right, the way we do in the month of May or in the month of December, when we have small part of the test, and the end we take the assessment, that is the formative assessment, right? And summative assessment we usually have at the end of the period, then okay, this much part is covered and now we need to assess where the child stands, right? But the thing is, we are taking these assessments, we are not taking feedback on this, we are not giving feedback on this. This is what where we are lacking. And the next is diagnostic tests. This we keep on taking during class discussions also, right? When we use the exit slips, right? Okay, what the child has learned, what are two things that you have learned, what is the one thing that you have not understood, that is an exit slips, right? Student reflections means what are their learnings on the lesson, they find it easy, they find it difficult, right? That is diagnostic. The way the doctor diagnoses our disease, right, they have to go through certain tests to understand what is the actual problem. The same way diagnostic tests are assessment is conducted throughout. When we are in the classroom, when we are teaching, when we know, okay, now this child is facing this particular problem, why this child is not interested, right, or what is the need for that child, that is diagnosis, right? And iterative assessment, as I have already told you, it is a collaborative work, right? And it is two-stage assessment, right, where the improvement test kind of thing, where they learn from the one test, they learn from their mistakes, and they improvise on it. This is something which we can incorporate, which we are not having as of now. We may call it improvement test, or this is one form of the assessments. These are some examples of all these type of assessments, right? Okay, what all the things can be covered in this? Informatives, again, class discussions, entry and exit tickets, what we call regular quiz, which we conduct in the classrooms, right? Kahoot is a kind of display where we can get the answers from the kids, right? Again, diagnostic tests, summatives, whatever they are writing. This summative, I have taken something different, right, than what we usually have. The tests which we usually have, what we call exams, half yearly and the final exams. This is something for the differential categories also, like recording a podcast, writing a script, right, sharing in the form of a project, whatever they have learned, right, and a two-stage testing process in the form of the this collaborative learning also. So, okay, so we have already covered part of it. Now it's your turn. What do you think are the benefits of the differential learning? Okay, let's again come back to the chat box and see. What do you think? What are the benefits? Why we should practice this differential learning? Okay. It is this only, ma'am. It is IP ipsative assessment. We can the child will be able to understand. It will increase the engagement. Okay. To make the teaching more effective, teaching and learning also more effective, right? Okay. No child should be left behind. Building confidence of the child, that every child can do something. It will build their confidence, right? Learning will become more easy. Equity is ensured, right? Again, very important. It is not that we are giving the same thing to everyone. That is equality, right? We need to focus on equity. Who needs what, right? To cover all the students. Very right. To make the concepts clear so that the students can be benefited, right? Uniqueness is strengthened. Again, very right, we can focus on everyone, right? And one more thing is there, then when we give them more choice in terms of activity, in terms of assessment, when we give them more flexibility, they become more responsible, right? Okay, this is something which I have chosen and I need to work on it, right? It gives them inclusivity, definitely, the more engagement, right? Okay, great. So we all know what are the benefits. Now let's see what are the challenges. What do you think you will be able to do it, or what do you think will is the challenge that you will face? right? Just imagine a child and in the class, children having in the class, and you are teaching everyone a different, using some different strategy. Do you think it is manageable, or what do you think? What are the challenges? Time limit, very right. Timing is something which has a problem. Planning, a lot of planning is required. Very right. Good at oral struggles to pen down. Okay. Resources is again right. If we are saying we have to give different types of tests, it means we have to make different types of tests, right? So planning, completion of the task, identifying the needs of the child, the very basic thing, right? And it starts uh, at the time when we start the teaching learning process, right? Again, I'll say we should not have a preconceived notion. Okay, this child is this, or this group is this. Energizer to grab attention, okay. Distraction in children while concentrating others. So discipline is also one issue, right? If we are taking different forms of things in the classroom, there can be distractions also, right? But believe me, there is always a first step. And when we take the first step, when it becomes a routine, all these things you will be able to cope up, right? Covering syllabus, that is the major challenge which we face, right? But once we make it, see, when NEP came up, right? When art integrated teaching was started, when activity-based teaching came up, experiential learning teaching came up in every subject, we used to think it is something, uh, such a big task. We don't know what CBSE has done, what all these things are. It is that what we used to feel at that time. But if you compare yourself to now, right, that is something which is a part of our process, right? It is something which we have incorporated, and students have also learned how to do it. Right? Same way, all these challenges we will be able to overcome when we will start planning in this way, and when the child will also get to understand, okay, that the teacher is not going to leave anyone, right? So because of these challenges, I think we should not take the back seat. Rather, we should take a step ahead, right? Face the challenges. This is what we are training the kids, right? So we cannot take a back seat. We have to go an extra mile, right? Okay. And it is much more than few adjustments in the content and modifications in the learning strategies, right? It is the very first thing is that you should have that passion as a teacher, as an educator, that you need to come to that level. You need to take an extra step in every class, every day, every year, year after year, and then only you can understand that how we can make this education system, we can take it to the next level, right? It is how we perceive teaching and learning and the value we attach to it. It is not only just delivering the lesson, the content, or the kind of modifications we are making. It is much beyond that, right? I hope you all would agree to it, right? And this is something which I really feel is close to my heart, and I always share this. I am a better teacher, not better than you, him or her, not better than anyone. I'm just better than I was. Good and great suggest an end. I am more interested in my next better around the bend. I just keep chasing better. So this is, I think, we all as educators need to focus upon to keep striving to be better and make our education system more inclusive. And with this, I take your I thank you everyone for being so patient listeners, right? And now, any queries you have, most welcome. Yes, please. If you have any queries, we can take up the queries.
Yeah, they must be having questions. Participants, you can ask your doubts or your queries, how to, implement a differentiation in your lesson plan and in your lesson in the classroom. So it should not be just like when, it was reported to the queen that the peasants had no bread to eat. The queen said, let them eat cakes, right? So it should not be in such a situation where, if we understand the necessity, the need of the learner, then definitely we have to go for differentiating the teaching learning practices. So unless and until we have, as we have different learners, we have to have different approaches, practices in the classroom. Otherwise, we are not doing justice to the children who are coming in expectation of taking away so many things every day. Rather than scaling, upgrading their knowledge and expertise, we may be standing in the way of their progress unless and until we cater to their needs. Especially those children who are high achievers, they always need things to satisfy their quench, their thirst. Like that, the slow learners, as I said, they badly need our help. We have to sit and we have to handhold them, the slow learners. So that is where differentiation comes into effect. So participants, you can ask questions in the question answer section. There is a question answer, field is there in Zoom, or you can raise your hand if you have any question. We'll be able to help you. Our objective is, every teacher should practice differentiation in the classroom, include in the lesson plan, include in the activity, and include in the assessment, so that you can sit back and relax. You will get the job satisfaction. You can sit back and relax that yes, this child is coming up. This child is performing excellently. This child has high potential. I didn't come to know. So this, should be a daily a routine to the teacher in everyday classroom. Questions, please.
I can see someone has asked, can we have a separate remedial class? Definitely we can have, right? That is what we usually do, an extra class, giving extra time to the slow learners, right? But we need to understand this has to be assessed at the beginning only. It is not that after the exams are conducted or after we have gone through the assessment, summative, formative assessment, and then we understand, okay, this child is not scoring, so he needs remedial action. Definitely that is the high time. But during the process of teaching learning also only, we need to diagnose that the child needs our attention. The child is a slow learner or lacks the concentration or whatever.
Yeah, every teacher should have the details of the classroom children. If there are 30 children, how many students are high achievers, that is gifted children, how many are slow learners? Accordingly, we have to plan. So planning is very important. That is one of the challenges we were discussing. Planning, if the planning is perfect, definitely it goes very smoothly. Initially, we will have problems of time management and all, but when it is done, practiced regularly, it becomes on auto learning mode. It becomes a practice. Auto learning happens. Those children are engaged in probing, probing, inquiry based learning. Middle achievers are finding out, and the slow learners are trying to understand and demonstrate their knowledge. This is what is the quintessence of differential instruction, teaching and learning. Well, if there are no questions, well, we can wind up. Over to Sina, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Yes. So as we are at the end of our session, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Rachna Bhargav for sharing her invaluable insights and expertise for us today, ma'am. Your deep understanding of the subject that has truly enlightened and inspired us. And thank you, ma'am, for your valuable time and dedication and for providing us with the practical strategies to enhance our teaching practices. We look forward to implementing all of your valuable recommendations and continuing our journey of professional growth. Thank you once again, ma'am, for outstanding webinar. Dear participants, kindly note that the link of certificate and feedback form has been posted. You are requested to fill up the form with all necessary details. I, Svina Khera, on behalf of everyone here at Extra Mile, would like to extend our heartfelt thanks once again to Ms. Rachna Bhargava ma'am for her gracious presence and the enriching experience she provided. We are deeply grateful to Dr. Abdul Salam sir for his generous support and invaluable guidance. Most importantly, I want to express our gratitude to all the participants for your enthusiasm and active involvement. I sincerely hope for this session has been both fruitful and enjoyable for everyone. Thank you so much. Over to you, Salam sir.
Thank you,
Srina
ma'am.
ma'am,
Thank
how are
you, sir.
you sound, how did you enjoy the session?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have enjoyed the session, and even I have learned many more things that I can also apply in my day-to-day classes. That I
Yeah,
will
correct,
also able to focus more on the slow learners.
correct. And thanks
Yes.
to Rachana ma'am, who has offered the session. Thank you, Rachana ma'am. Definitely every session is a learning. There will be, definitely new things, and we never think that we know everything. So I also get a lot of things, from the sessions from different resource persons, and thank you so much, Rachana ma'am, for your time. You have taken a lot of, preparations and effort for the preparations, and definitely this will be helping the educators. We are opening the doors to them, and definitely those teachers, those who have attended or those who attend those sessions are very much passionate and dedicated educators. They frequently attend those
Right.
sessions. So if they think that they don't want, they may not attend the session. So we can understand that they have 300. The room was full, and we have received about 900 registrations. And so this many educators are very much interested in implementing these strategies in their classroom. So they take care of. They are very much taking care of the children, and they want to implement a lot and lot for the betterment of the children. And definitely their efforts will be rewarded. So, thank you so much, participants, for joining, and your enthusiasm is the motivation and inspiration for us to give you sessions like this, and assisted by, supported by resource persons like Rachana ma'am. Thank you so much. Rachana ma'am, always, she is always with us, associating with us, wanting to learn and teach at the same time. So thank you so much, Rachana ma'am, once again, and thank you, Srina ma'am, for your effort and for the nice job you have done. And all the educators, please stay connected. I have displayed the QR code for the feedback and certificate link. If the link is, not visible to the participants in the chat box, you can scan it and you make use of the uh, certification. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, ma'am, once again. Have
Thank
a
you so much,
very good
sir.
night, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.